Take a look at the phone in your hand. If we strip away the glass and the casing to look at the components, then trace the origins of your clothes and the furniture in your living room, you quickly realize how much of the modern world traces directly back to Chinese manufacturing. 40 years ago, none of this was supposed to happen. China was excluded from international trade and was not slated to become the world's factory floor. A transformation on this scale doesn't come from a sudden boom or a single lucky invention. It requires a highly structured, carefully executed plan. The prices you pay, the devices you use, and the products you buy are built entirely on a specific 4-decade blueprint of economic engineering. Let's start with the baseline. Look at this photograph from 1978. Despite holding nearly a quarter of the global population, the country was astonishingly poor. Most families lived in rural villages, relying on manual farming methods that hadn't advanced in generations. The state dictated exactly what factories produced, where people worked, and how much was made. While this central planning looked organized on paper, it created severe consumer shortages everywhere and punished actual productivity. The pivot began with this man, Deng Xiaoping. He operated with a pragmatic philosophy. Results mattered more than strict ideology. He famously noted that it doesn't matter if a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. If capitalist mechanisms created wealth, he was willing to use them. But there was a major political dilemma. Simply announcing a sudden nationwide switch to capitalism would have triggered massive resistance and likely collapsed the state structure completely. So rather than forcing a rapid national revolution, the government treated wealth generation as a highly controlled experiment, testing these new economic concepts slowly in a few isolated, strictly managed regions. The first major test case was a fishing village called Shenzhen in 1980. By designating it a special economic zone, the government created an isolated sandbox where taxes were lowered, regulations were stripped away, and foreign businesses could operate with unusual freedom. The state immediately started pouring concrete. They built out deep-water ports, paved highways, and connected massive electrical grids, creating a turnkey environment ready for anyone looking to build a factory. For Western executives looking at their bottom line, the offer was undeniable. As you can see in these early production lines, foreign corporations flocked to these zones to access an enormous pool of cheap labor, allowing them to drastically cut manufacturing costs and boost shareholder returns. But there was a strategic trade-off happening on the factory floor. While Western consumers received cheaper electronics and textiles, the workers assembling those products were systematically absorbing advanced operational knowledge, logistics, and technical skills. The decades spent assembling consumer goods for foreign brands effectively trained an elite industrial workforce and established a highly scalable economic infrastructure. Having a massive, affordable workforce gets you started, but the true advantage emerged from something called supply chain density. Look at a standard global manufacturing setup. If you are building a smartphone, your screen might be manufactured in one country, the battery in another, and the chassis somewhere else. Those components have to be shipped slowly across the globe before assembly. Now watch what happens when we zoom in to a Chinese manufacturing hub. Those specialized suppliers are packed into a single city limit. If you need new screws or a different battery, the factory is right across the street. This proximity allows companies to prototype and iterate in a matter of days instead of months. That unmatched speed gave foreign companies total confidence when China officially joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, triggering an absolute explosion in export orders. The massive influx of foreign capital was immediately reinvested back into the country. The state laid down thousands of miles of high-speed rail, like the lines radiating out from these massive transit hubs, connecting a network of newly formed urban megacities. The combination of localized supply chain density and sprawling national infrastructure allowed the manufacturing sector to operate at a speed and volume that other developing nations struggled to match. There is an old assumption that Chinese factories simply copy Western products. While imitation was part of the early process, decades of hands-on assembly naturally trained millions of engineers who eventually moved into original design. Today, we see that evolution in facilities like this drone manufacturing plant. The focus has moved past basic assembly into dominating advanced engineering sectors, including renewable energy deployment and robotics. Yet this success brings a new set of structural threats. Rising living standards have driven up wages, and a declining birth rate means that the massive, highly affordable labor force that originally built this economy is steadily shrinking. As domestic production costs increase and global trade tensions flare, foreign corporations are actively diversifying their supply chains, moving large factory orders to emerging hubs in Vietnam, Mexico, and India. To counteract these losses, the state is aggressively pivoting in advanced facilities like this electric vehicle production line. They are pouring capital into domestic chip development and heavy automation to secure dominance in the technologies of the future. The days of effortless, double-digit economic growth are over, but unpacking this 40-year blueprint remains the only way to accurately interpret the modern global economy and understand exactly how the future balance of power is being built.